All right, Warner, since we had missed a whole week, which is not your fault, we are going to catch up on the math that we missed. And this is going to be 7-1, 7-2, 7-3, potentially 7-4, but it's not a huge deal. So 7-1, I'm going to try to do this on the board. I'm filming by myself. I can't really set this down. 7-1 is all about determining whether a fraction is close to 0, 1/2 or 1. Okay, this is pretty simple stuff. Anyway, so we're going to take a look at the number 7/8. Now we need to determine if it's close to 0, half, or 1. All right, and this is the first step I always do to make sure it's not half. So if I divide this bottom number by 2, that will tell me if it's going to be half. So the halfway point is 4. So 4/8 would be exactly half. All right, so now let's take a look at the number line to also make our second determination. So here is 0 and 1. I'm going to split it up into 8 pieces. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the last one is 8. Okay, now we're going to find out where 7/8 is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right here. This is where 7/8 is. And I remember when I said 4/8 is halfway, because it is, because this reduces down to a half. So we now see that 7/8 is closer to, let me change my color so you can see better. We can see that 7/8 is much closer to 1 than it is 4/8. So this tells me that 7/8 would estimate to become 1. All right. Let's switch gears back to checking if it's closer to half. Now, let's take a look at the number 7/12. This will be the next one. So now, if I divide this by 2, I see the halfway point is going to be 6/12. Now, it gives us 7/12. So what does this tell you? It's going to be right next to being half. So I can just go ahead and estimate that to be a half. 7/12 estimates to being half. So we don't even have to draw the number line for that one. And for our third example, switch my colors again, is going to be 1/10. We'll draw out a thing here. Here's 10. Here's 1, 0, and 1. Okay? Everywhere in between. You know that 5/10 is half. Oh, I messed up. Hold on. Just do sometimes gets it wrong. 6, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I thought it was off. Okay. Now here's 5/10, and here's where 1/10 would be. This is 1/10. So we can recognize already that it is way closer to 0 than being half. So we would say this is going to head and represent 0 in estimation. All right, so that is all really of 7/1. Now 7/2 is all about getting common denominators. So I'll show you this process. So it's going to give you 2 random fractions like 3/8, 2/6, okay? And as we say, find a common denominator. So we're looking at the denominator, which is the bottom half of the fraction. To find their least common multiple is our second step. So we have to find 6 and 8's factors and find out which one they share first. Now, we can always find a denominator by just multiplying the bottom, but we want to find the one that would be the smallest one that they go into. Now, 8 and 6 both go into 48 when you multiply by each other. But there is another number that's smaller than 48 that they both go into. So let's check out what that is. The factors of 6. I'm going to go all the way to 8 and just show you anyway what it would be. Factors of 6. 6 times 1 is 6. So we have 12. 6 times 3 is 18. 4 is 24. 5 is 30. 36. That's by 6. 42 and 48. All right, now let's try 8. Now 8 would be 8 times 1 is 8. All right, so 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. This is where I'm going to hit the brakes because I recognize the first thing that they share is 24. So now, in 7-2's problems, it's just going to basically say that what would the common denominator be? That would be 24 because that's the first one that they share. So always do this process. Find the least common multiple first that they both share, and that will usually give it out. So I'm going to do another example with 3s and 5s. Just make sure you understand. So let's do a third and 4/5. So that's the two fractions it gives you. What would be the common denominator? So right here, 3, 5. Factors of 3. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15. Let's do the factors of 5 until we get one that shares. Factors of 5. 5 times 1 is 5. 10, 15. Okay, we can stop right there because I can see that they share 15. So the least common multiple they share is 15. So this means that our common denominator is going to be 15. That's really all it's going to tell you for 2. Now for lesson 3, we add. Okay, so also when we add right now, we're not going to put it into mixed numbers, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay. Let's do 3/4 plus 6 out of 16. So let's add these together. We got to find our common denominator, so we start with this. Okay, 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. I can hit the brakes because I know 16 times 1 is 16. So what this means is that they share this as their common denominator. So these fractions are going to turn into over 16. Okay. Now I go back to this. 4 times what got me to 16? Well, I know 4 times 4 is 16. But whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top to keep the fractions fair and equivalent. So now 3 over 4 turns into 12 over 16. In this process, I already see that this already has a denominator 16, so I just carry this fraction over. So now it is 12 plus 6, which is 18, and that's going to be over 16 because we do not have to add the denominators because they're already common. So now this means we have 18 over 16. So that's how we add, and now we're going to talk about subtraction because that's our next step. This is 7/4. So I'm going to make this quick and easy so we can finish this video. Let's do 3/4 minus, let's just do 1/2. Let's make it super easy on ourselves. Okay, so now I know that 2 goes into 4. So our common denominator is going to be 4. Okay. Now what did I multiply 2 by to get to 4? I know that's going to be 2. So whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. This keeps our fractions consistent and being able to subtract. Excuse me. 1 times 2 is 2. So 2 over 4 represents half, and that is true. So now we have 3 over 4 because 4 is already right here, so I do not have to change this fraction. So now this becomes 3 minus 2, which is 1 over 4. Because I already have the same common denominator, it's just going to get carried over. So now we just do the top, so it's 3 minus 2, which is 1. 1 over 4 is our answer. So that's the basics about it. So remember to always find your least common multiple if you're not sure. But I already know that 2 goes into 4, so I don't have to go and do all that. But always do it if you need to. So now we're left with 1 over 4 after we subtract. It literally is that simple. If you have any more questions, you can reach out to me. I will make sure to modify some practice buddies for you to make sure you get some good practice before we do quick checks. Anyway, that's about all I got for you. And we'll get caught up. Thank you.